Okay, I'm sorry, I'm chewing. I didn't know that we were on. Welcome, everyone. I'm here setting up for podcast that I am hosting with English language teachers. And I wait, people in here already? Oh, she's been here. Okay. Um, I'll let her in a minute. So let me just get myself together. So yeah, I'm doing this podcast and I wanted to get on here, make sure everything is going good to go. So I look very academic today. You see, I'm trying to behave a little bit. I have to show a little bit of shoulder, even in my academic space. So today I'm going to be wearing a different hat. I'm in my academic hat, meaning, I've been sort of freelancing for the past 2 or so years after my last assignment in Cameroon, where I was English language fellow. I was working with Camelta and a school in PK Focum Institute of Excellence. So my assignment was in Cameroon. And after I got back, I was sort of in Jamaica, just, in and out of spaces, getting to know what's going on in Rastafari communities, indigenous spaces, and just familiarizing myself with Jamaica. I had been sort of whisked away when I was 13 and lived, abroad since then. So returned and I was just chilling. And those of you who know me know I don't like too much clothes on. So I'm always in some sort of violation of some sort. But I'm the perfect person for this sort of space where there needs to be a balance between what is considered intelligence and intellect and academia, and what on the indigenous side that looks like. It doesn't look the same. And so, because academia or intelligence doesn't resemble what it looks like in the colonial construct, we devalue learning and education in certain spaces, or if it looks something contrary to what we're accustomed to seeing. And so what I am doing is bringing this to our awareness, and then walking us through what it looks like to unravel this construct. I'm going to let Nikki in. I know she's been in for a little bit. Blessed, how are you? Empress Grace. I let you in and I'm just sort of warming up myself. It's good to see you. I'm just making sure everything works in terms of technology and that I'm streaming, and everything will be good to go. And then also just giving a little bit of background as to what has been going on with the eye, and why I'm actually here now in this space. Good to see you too. So I was just sharing. I'm actually on, not only am I recording, but I'm also on my social media lives, my YouTube channel. So I'll be hosting these sort of what Rastafari call reasonings with educators in the English language teaching space, so that we can talk through some things as it relates to education, so that we're not spinning our wheels trying to do something that is not necessary, and focus on things that really need to be focusing on in terms of education. I was sharing that after I left Cameroon, my assignment in Cameroon, I spent some time in Jamaica. I had been sort of back and forth between Florida and Jamaica, and then I was in Jamaica just straight for 2 years. And during those 2 years, I encountered 2 hurricanes. So I had to learn very quickly and navigate. And I came out of those experiences with not only, no, it's not sorry, no, it's actually not bad. And we really need to stop looking at things as good and bad. I see everything as learning. And what happened really just reopened my awareness about how education and how learning happens. And it was something that we touched on during our conference that we had in Cameroon at PK FOCUM, where we were talking about education is interactive. It's not something that is, you learn out of a book or in a classroom. And so there are some things that we really need to look at as teachers and readjust so that we are actually making an impact and sort of preparing students, the young people, for the future, really doing it. Because right now it's not, it's just stagnating everything, really. So after I returned to the States, I had the opportunity to do this presentation for TESOL. And I just said, you know what, let me just bring all of everything that I learned together under one concept. And I developed a curriculum that resembles what teaching and learning and language learning actually looks like naturally. And I first wanted to set a foundation for some of that. So I was telling them that I'm wearing my glasses and I'm having on clothes. Normally I'm not wearing nothing much. It's always hot. And I wanted to remain as natural as possible as it relates to who I am. Because one of the things that colonialism has done is it's made us adjust to doing things according to what is considered right and correct under a certain construct, and not right and correct under something that's more natural for us. So for example, when I compare teaching and learning under a colonial construct and compared to a natural construct, I see it the way through the lens. And I'm using education because this is how it sort of applies across the board with colonialism. Think about medicine. We think about, I have a headache, or I don't feel good. The first thing that will sort of people do here is, okay, let me go to the doctor. If it goes on persistently, let me go to the doctor. The doctor will ask a couple questions, whatever our symptoms, he'll give us some medication to address our symptoms. Same person, they go to an indigenous doctor. I have headache. The indigenous doctor says, ask some more questions, either knowing that this person is already not in tune with their own body. Because if you're in tune with your own goody, and I say, I'm just not saying body, I'm saying goody, because the Rastafarians don't call your body anything bad, they call it goody. So my goody, if I don't know my goody and I don't understand the symptoms, then I don't know what herb I can take to heal it. So I go to the medicine doctor and he will know, okay, you know what, your headache is probably because you're dehydrated or you need to put your glasses on or whatever. And he will solve the root problem and the symptoms will go away. In the colonial system, they treat the symptom and the root problem remains. And so what we have to do now as it relates to education now is we have to really look at education. What would education look like outside of the colonialist construct? What is education going to look like after, for example, Jamaica, which I'm using it as an example? It's like a microcosm of the bigger picture, bigger issue with colonialism. But Jamaica wants now to become its own republic. And it's so you're going to get rid of one name, keep the same construct, just because the people now are brown, but the education system is still colonialist, the political system is still colonialist, the religious system is still colonialist, and now we're still under that, and that don't work for us still. But we now say, yeah, we're free, but our education process is limiting. And I can show that. And I have shown that through the papers that I've shared, and I will share this in the research community because I am submitting them for peer review for you all to look at it and for us to have these sorts of dialogues. So this is why I have these Sunday reasonings, so that we can look at the papers, which I pulled information from research that Professor Jason R. Day wrote. And Jason R. Day is now in the news because they were talking about plagiarism. And so I pulled his research in. I know everyone is talking about him, but his research is what's more important. I mean, his death was sad, and the bullying that resulted from, even if he did break or violate some academic rule, the response from the intellectual community was to embarrass him, make such disparaging remarks that he died within days of this happening. So it causes me to now look at what his research uncovered, and his research and several others looked at academia as a colonialist structure that was very racist. And so within that structure, Indigenous people are not going to thrive because it gives the impression that the institution, the academic institution, is the authority in this knowledge. And in this case, it's English. And so Cambridge and Britain, they are the sort of owners of English. You have to pass their exams before you can do whatever you want to in the English speaking world. And so it's as though they are the authority on the language, and they are the authority on religion, and they are the authority on everything. And everything that does not line up with their construct is a subordinate to that. And that is what colonialist systems do, very extractive. And so now when we are looking at education and redesigning education to sort of facilitate the learning styles of Indigenous people, then now we have to ask, what would that look like? And because, you know, and a very simple analogy just to bring this home is this, in terms of language learning. And the word learning is the operative word, the word I want us to look at, because language is not learned, language is acquired. Yeah, and maybe it's just semantics, but think, for example, did you learn to speak? I didn't learn to speak English in school. I learned to speak English when I was 2 and 3 and 4, and I was speaking it. Then no one sat me down in a classroom and taught me grammar and vocabulary words. I learned it from my environment. And so if we're saying that, okay, now technology is this new device through which we can teach and learn, sure. But I don't want us to limit technology to our concept of technology in our own eyes right now, which is laptops, laptop computers, cell phones, headsets. These are the technologies we think about. What about people who don't have access to those? Are you telling me that they won't be able to learn language? Because these things didn't exist when I learned English, but I still learned English. And so now what I'm saying, and what my paper and the foundation for this Roots and Rivers framework for teaching and learning English, if you want to call it that, is that learning can be facilitated through other sorts of technology. If you move technology from just these things and look at technology as agriculture, that's technology. That's a form of technology that language can develop. So how do we then replicate or duplicate this sort of an environment so that English language can be facilitated more naturally rather than under the same colonialist construct where you take a book, you sit in a classroom, you read. That's not how it's learned, and that's not how it's taught. And so this is what during our first conference, the first conference with CAMELTA, was communicating that language can be learned through projects, and language can be learned through more interactive and engaging activities. It's switching our thinking away from the language being the representative of intellect, and realizing that the intelligence and the knowing comes from within us. And in indigenous societies, learning happens in our environment. It happens in these spaces. This is how we acquired our language. So how can we teach and learn English that way? And in communities that do not have access to computers and access to phones and whatever, can we still teach English in those settings? Yes, we can, because they're in an environment. And that's what the Roots and Rivers framework that I designed communicates and facilitates, in terms of, and not only am I expressing it and teaching it and having us review it, but I've created opportunity to engage in a number of different, through a number of different modalities. So language can be learned through our phones. For example, I have now ChatGPT, where I can just say, ¿Cómo estás? Ba, 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 in Espanol, and it starts to speak to me in Spanish. So I can now learn it through my phone. So do I need a teacher? Or through my the newest technology is through 3D. I've been mentioning this was coming for years. So now we can learn through VR headsets. We can engage through that way. But what if you don't have that? We can engage with our surroundings through our culture, because any opportunity to engage in dialogue facilitates learning, language development. And so giving students an opportunity to speak, to reflect, and then use vocabulary within that space, that is how we reinforce use of words and encourage students to actually speak, because that's the only way we're going to learn, when we do it. And so as teachers, it's a shift in our thinking for many really, because I never went through the traditional teaching methodologies system. So my teaching style always varied, but that's also more indicative of nature. Let me give you another example of how teaching and learning can happen through indigenous eyes and thinking. mushrooms, plants, they have knowledge. And when you ingest them, or when you ingest them, however you choose to do that, you also take on that knowing. Some people use water, knowing, they speak to the water and what have you, and then drink it. And so plants have knowing. And so when you have a colonialist structure that values the ability to explain how a process happens and looks at that as knowing, but not knowing that can be applied, wherein if I know I have some sort of, let's say, as my example before, headache, and I drink some tea, that plant, the water, can heal me, or it gives my body what that which it needs to heal itself. So the education within the indigenous communities are going to need to be more reflective of our natural environment, natural situations, natural circumstances, and then language will emerge and develop and be acquired. So that's more or less the foundation of what this project is about. I'm, as I mentioned, putting on back my academia hat, and I wanted to know, give a moment. I don't know if you wanted to say a word or two. Aita, I see you there, and I know you're usually technology challenged. I don't know if you probably have a little bit more proficient now. You opened your mic, woohoo! Welcome aboard. This is Aita, the president of the Cameroon English Language Teachers
Teachers
Cameroon
Association.
English Language and Literacy Teachers Association, CAMELTA. And I know you just wrapped up your conference.
Annual Congress,
So,
yes.
yeah, I wanted to just give you a moment to share. You are such a, I'm going to just give us a chance. I've been talking enough. Tell me what's going on. It's been almost 2 years since we spoke. How are you, my love?
Oh, you don't know, it gladdens my heart to listen to you again, Karen. It's like you just here next door sitting with me.
I know, right?
It really gladdens the heart. And I have been listening attentively to you like I did that day we met for the first time.
Oh,
And with these many, many ideas popping up in your mind and holding somebody spellbound, it's not change, it's only getting better.
oh, really?
And how you align with the present discourses, especially at the Camelta conference in our methodology now.
Mhm.
Because tell you what, we are doing, I know it is methodology dumped on us too, but sometimes you pick out of it what suits you and what you can work along with.
Mhm.
So we are talking competencies based, where we are improving on the competencies of the learners, and what underlines this method that ties in with what you are doing is bringing the world of the learners into the classroom, teaching them through their worldview.
Yes.
And the world of our learners now is so much of an adulterated world with a lot of hybridity, distancing from their root, identity lost, search for identity,
Mhm.
back to their roots, and all of this. And at the end of the day, you simply just ask the question, then who really, or what really is the worldview that we are bringing into the classroom?
Mhm.
The
Yeah.
borrowed worldview from television,
Yes.
iPhones, or whatever,
Yeah.
or the cultural worldview, we
Yeah.
want to say, take them back to their roots.
Yes.
Somewhere it has to be addressed. And at the conference, we highlighted a lot multilingual classrooms.
Mm-hmm.
It's no longer, we are no longer going for the view that teach English through English,
Mm,
but teach English through the languages of the learners.
mm, mm-hmm, mm,
And when they culture, they keep their identity. When they learn their language, when they keep their languages, they keep their culture. And
yes,
Cameroon, is more than 200 dialects.
yes.
And imagine a scenario in a class where the learners,
Mm-hmm,
they sit and they talk among themselves, and they find a need
yes.
to express that in English.
Mm-hmm,
That is what the Chinese beat us at.
yeah.
They don't need English to produce, but they need English to market.
Mm-hmm,
And
mm-hmm,
when they talk using what they master, they go faster.
mm,
I
yeah,
will stay there for now.
yeah.
I think I'm just like a sponge
Mm-hmm,
soaking up what you are talking about
mm,
because it constitutes our priorities too.
mm-hmm,
I'm listening.
mm.
I will listen more. Thank you, Karen.
Thank you, thank you.
Mm.
Wow, this is great. Um, wow, there's always so much that I take from what you share. Um, I learned so much during our conference, and much of what I have used to continue the push for us to look at alternative methods, more natural means of facilitating language learning, is because you mentioned something once about before we were colonized. We learned on the trees. We were outside. You were sharing that as one of an example during the conference. And I thought, wow, yeah, it would be nice to go outside and sit on rather than in the classrooms. It's so restrictive. And this, we have, just think about it. We have children, young people with all that energy boxed up for 8 hours out of the day, cut off from everything that is going on outside of them, to learn, to teach in a way that is very unnatural for us as a people, and just us, period. Think about, oh, I'm out in the yard, and I'm planting. I have a little garden, and you have my little soil in there, and I'm growing things. And whenever I do my juicing, I have my veggies and all that. I don't throw them away. I put them in a bucket, and I sort of compost it, and it breaks down and it becomes soil. So then I use that soil and I plant things in it. And it's very interesting to watch how all that reconverts into soil, and then back again, and then you plant something and it comes back. It's just fascinating. Just think, if we give students an opportunity to observe their surroundings, give them a project, and have them go through the project, and reflect on the project, and then share about it, and their questions that are asked, and that is what is produced. They're producing something that is tangible now. So when we're talking about testing and language assessment, all these things, isn't the best way of assessing if someone has developed their language, them putting together some sort of presentation or project using the words that they have learned over the course of, I don't know, a semester or whatever, rather than, sitting down and, checking boxes and circles, and at the end of the day, they still can't talk. They still can't
Wow.
communicate. They just passed the
Um,
test. And so, what are we measuring? And what to us looks like success is not the same thing that the colonialist construct is looking for, because that design was put in place for extraction, for us to feed a system. And if you think about how English is used, how much it costs to learn and test and learn and test. And after all
Karen,
that,
can I cut in a little?
sure.
You are touching on a soft spot here. When I went through primary school, I'm sorry for my bad voice, too
Sir,
much talking at the Congress.
that's right.
Yeah.
Don't worry.
When I went through primary school, most of it was project learning. Now, the teachers would take us to the garden,
Mm,
and then we will do the compost in school, and
mm,
we take the manure to the garden, and every student will own a ridge. We used to plant yams, you would do mulching, you would do weeding,
mhm.
and in the process of all of that, we would talk in our vernacular, our mother tongue.
Oh,
But when we get back to classroom, we are reporting what we did in English. And because you're so excited to let people know exactly what you did in the garden to get that kind of yield,
yes.
then you will look for those words. You
Mm,
ask a classmate, you ask the teacher, but how do they call it? Because
yes.
that's how I knew tuber, because I had to describe how I got the tuber of that yam to plant. In the dialect, I knew it, Ngbe,
Mm,
but I didn't know it in English. And because I had to describe my process, I
yes.
asked. And now, where have computers taken us to? And classrooms.
Yes.
Today, every child wants to be an accountant and a banker.
Yeah.
But then, who grows the crops that will fetch the money you want to account for,
That's
or
correct.
bank, or do all of that? And it becomes so sterile that
Yes.
we get degrees. You
Yes.
sit in a house,
Yes.
a switch is bad, a
Yes.
university graduate is there, you are a university graduate, you
Yeah.
cannot fix the switch.
Oh,
You cannot repair anything at home. Yet you have certificates in
yes.
your pocket that don't define you.
You.
But you find a nursery school child in China, that child will get up and fix those switches in the house, change the bulbs,
Yeah.
produce the watches that they send to us in Africa.
Yes.
It is painful.
It is. And we and it is in education and how we educate. And that's where we have been sort of distracted in pursuing degrees and things to hang on our walls and to accumulate things that we're going to leave behind along with this flesh that we have. And our only testimonies are these degrees. As a matter of fact, while I was in Jamaica going through the house and cleaning up, I had, just getting rid of things, and a lot of those degrees and people who had died, I just sort of packed some of them up. Some I kept and some I just got rid of.
So sad.
Got rid of. And people spent their lives so that they could show this piece of paper and or say, I graduated magna cum laude. No one has ever asked me if I graduated magna cum laude or summa cum laude, ever. So these carrots that we're asked to chase, to what end? And while we're chasing and indoctrinating, I lean on the Rastafari community because there are a lot of things that they bring to my awareness in terms of how words are used. And so they're always correcting. If I said, when I come back to Jamaica, they say you don't ever go back, you go forward. When you come forward to Jamaica, when you come forward to Jamaica,
Okay.
they don't use anything that's going to elicit the
They
negative.
value you.
Right. Right. So they're very particular about certain words when they, I don't say good morning anymore. I'll say grand rising or something else because the morning sounds too close to morning. And using that word at the beginning of the day when you're greeting someone in morning.
Negative energy.
Yes, yes. So, they have sort of brought my attention to these words. They may seem insignificant, but the more I think about them, the more I pay
It's a
attention.
mindset change. It gives room to mindset change. Do you know there is a lot of botanical, medical, and cultural, agricultural knowledge of Africa that has been plagiarized? Now, you talked about nature communicating.
Mm.
Let me tell you, a lot has been taken from us and brought back to us at cutthroat prices.
Yes.
My grandmother was called the midwife of the community. She never went to school, but she did just all that you will pay at cutthroat prices today to get a baby delivered. She did that for the community for free. She knew the herbs, she knew the posture, she knew the words to even say over a woman in labor that would yield the results. She communicated with nature. She communicated with our gods.
Yes.
And there was remedy. But you know what? The same people who came and said that was not education are the same people who got them talking, who got them sell those chemistry, no, what do you call me now? Those equations to them orally, took them to the forest, identified the barks of trees that were healing, the herbs that were healing. They took to Europe, manufactured quinine, manufactured things, and brought back to us at cutthroat and told us our methods were barbaric, simplistic.
Yes.
But it was the same formulas they took from us.
Yes.
Condemned. So we could no longer use.
Yes.
That they brought back these things and at cutthroat prices.
So.
And compromised them even.
Yes. Yes. But listen, of course, and once again, and Grace, I please, I'm going to give you a moment to speak in a minute. If you'd like to, please raise your hand because I wanted an opportunity to just speak freely. So since it's just us, we can do that. The example that's very clear in Rastafari is ganja, the plant, ganja.
Yes.
That is a sacrament for Gan. That is how Gan, they use it to connect with their higher heights. It is it's a part of their spirituality, to connecting. Just like in the Catholic Church where they use the incense and all that, they do it with the plant because that is where you get it. So they are simulating what the Rastafarians do in their temple.
And the Rastafarians, their roots are buried back in Africa because that's what the slaves who settled, they remembered. You see, look at even this blues, rock and roll, jazz, the jazz you sing. Those were the memories of the early settlers and who remember the culture they came from, and they remember this thing in pain, but they appropriated it. Look like the song "I once was lost, but now I'm found." That was a slave crying out, but somebody got it off the slave's mouth and own it.
Yes.
And the narrative was never told again of the pain expression. A lot is lost.
Yes.
Well, I'm sorry talking too much. We are so many.
No,
I'll wait to.
No,
I'll wait to.
No, we want to hear you. I asked Nikki, Jace, if
Let
Jace
the others talk
to
to
jump in and
Karen.
share. No, Aita, as we are moving on, this is the reason to have this forum actually. On Mondays, I have another meeting, and it's more of a strategic meeting, so we don't get a chance to chat and have open forum. So this is good, and it's around a very important topic, particularly right now in Jamaica, who's looking to become a republic. And so the idea of no longer being a colony of Britain is one thing, but how do you now get Britain out of you? Because the education system is failing. Everyone it's either they're educated and then they leave the island. So the education is not, it's not circulating. It is, they're learning and then they're leaving. So the brain drain is happening. The discouragement, the classrooms, they don't have enough technology, and the teachers don't have the training to be able to adapt. So you have violence in school. It's just getting out of hand. Why? Because colonialism has come to its end, at least for us. And it is fulfilling its intent in terms of what they call ethnocide. In terms of Rastafari, it's closer to almost genocide, but it doesn't, there's some idiosyncrasies that they're wanting to indicate, but that doesn't make it fit within that category. But ethnocide is one of the words that they're using now, because they're saying, if you see people over, Nubians, some of them have a British accent, some of them have a European accent, and that means that our native tongues have been taken, because you're saying there are 200 dialects in Cameroon, and for us in the West, it's only one, English. It's only one.
Yes.
Unless you come from another, it's just English. Some people, depending on Dominican Republic, it may be Spanish. In Haiti, it's French. But we're so close, and because of the language, again, there's still that barrier between, Haiti is in such great need right now of support internationally. And so there's need for French speaking. We need some mediator through which to help the Haitian community be able to acquire the language, to be able to, communicate, engage in trade. It's not the concept of education isn't that because a person is unable to express something in English doesn't mean that they're not intelligent or they don't have something to communicate. And that is unfortunately the challenge here. But the solution is it's not as complex as we think. Immersion is the best opportunity to acquire language. Move into a space where English is spoken and you will acquire the language. So one of the things that the pathways that I've established through this teaching framework, Roots and Rivers, is to create an opportunity for actual engagement in this space in Jamaica. Students can travel to Jamaica and they can work on projects together. We can use technology. Yes, just like we are here, we can put a project together, and then it can manifest here in Jamaica, or we can do a project and it's in Cameroon, or it's in Nigeria, or it's in Barbados, Bahamas, because students can connect through this technology. But
you're right.
Agricultural project, we can work on a project together using this sort of technology, or using VR. We can use those things, but we can remain grounded and rooted in our communities, in our cultures, and we can have cultural exchanges that way. That's more learning, and we can connect through English, but we can learn each other's dialects after we have connected in a space that is that facilitates communication. And so Um, what does that look like? Grace, do you want to say something? I'll give you a chance. I'll pause for a minute to jump in if you'd like to add.
I'm enjoying the conversations.
Are you?
I'd like to come in first of all from the cultural perspective.
Okay.
Sometime in my PhD coursework, we did cultural psychology.
Okay.
And in that course, we were trying to look at, for instance, the medical aspect you were talking about. Yes, how many of the African uh, uh, um, riches were lost because it depended on oral tradition. It wasn't documented.
Ah,
So
yes.
there are many of the drugs that could be that are hidden in nature
Yes.
that cannot be retrieved because the custodians of those bodies of knowledge maybe died without passing them on to someone who could document and the like. That is how a lot of our bodies of knowledge have been lost. So
Yes.
now again, as I listen to you, I'm listening from another perspective.
Mm.
Learning or education has to do with environmental adaptation.
Yes.
If what you're teaching somebody is very important for their self actualization,
Yes.
whether it is in a natural environment or an artificial environment,
Mhm.
somehow that motivation
Yes.
to get what will make them feel actualized is a strong drive
Yes.
that can help them. Take, for instance, people going for the IELTS exam without
Mm.
necessarily moving to the UK or in an L1 language situation where they can follow using technology.
Yes.
So I'm looking at it from a whole systems approach.
Yes. Yes.
People back in Cameroon, let's say, people may want to stay back in the country, but there are many issues that push them out of the nation. They
Hmm.
don't go to America just because they want to.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
People don't go to school for 7 years just because they want to. They are looking for a solution to a problem, an
Yes.
economic problem, a
Yes.
social, political problem.
Yes.
Necessarily, they think the solution will come from the long years of study, which unfortunately doesn't come. So I want us to look at this environmental adaptation. People want to know what enables them adapt to their environment, have a good life where they are.
Yes.
So if that English gives me an opportunity, a good life, why
Mhm.
won't I? The first thing, people want to feel like they
Yes.
want to have what means life. Now, the negative part of it is the selfishness that makes us we need and don't come back to reinvest in me. Don't come back to reinvest in our communities. For instance, West is ready to pay you whatever it takes to sap all the intellectual capacity you would have used to develop your own motherland. They are ready to pay you
Yeah.
all the dollars while
Yeah.
your own country drowns in war, bloodshed, underdevelopment because of the absence of that
Yes.
one person who would have brought the development. Now, is it possible that while seeking survival for the means to have life abroad, you still use the income you generate to develop your motherland? Is it possible? If selfishness will permit us, if we will less, it is possible for us to fit into two worlds without losing our own cultures.
Yeah.
While you were speaking about using your natural waste to grow your plants, I'm here with two of my children. One was just telling me, but that's not what we do.
Yeah.
Most of our kitchen waste we take to a farm just besides the house, or waste from soybean we take to our rabbits that we farm nearby, and that's how we recycle
That's
and we
right.
reuse.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yes, so while looking at it, I don't want us to look at it in just a colonial perspective, but taking an approach that while helping us to preserve cultural bodies of knowledge, the learning of language should be to help people adapt to their environment and the global environment. Because, like it or not, we are bound to interact with people from different cultures, just like we are doing right now.
Sure. Sure.
We are interacting with you from a different cultural background.
Absolutely.
Yes, this instruct we should seek to see what we can benefit and what can benefit our learner in
That's right.
this interaction
Yes. Yes.
without them losing their roots.
Yes. Absolutely.
Yes, so we need
Wow.
a balanced approach. While seeking to preserve our cultural heritage,
Yeah.
we should not build barriers that block or
Mhm.
hinder exchange,
Hmm.
intercultural, cross-cultural
Hmm.
exchanges. There is an approach I use in my teaching my students. When I'm teaching them how to write, maybe if I'm teaching you how to write a CV, I
Mm.
teach you how to use a tool that will actually enable you write a CV beyond the classroom. A CV that can enable you access opportunities,
Yes.
global opportunities. There
Yes.
are key competencies that we need to teach beyond the syllabus.
That's correct.
So, um, an emancipated teacher has the tools to liberate students from a limited mindset.
Mhm.
The fact
Mhm.
that I've
Mhm.
studied beyond a diploma should empower me to deconstruct the syllabus. I know what is wrong with this syllabus. I have the bodies of knowledge.
Yes.
I should be able to use what I know beyond the syllabus to correct the
Yes.
flaws of that syllabus. And that's what each individual teacher should do.
Yeah.
We cannot
Yeah.
continue blaming our governments. Every teacher has the responsibility
Yes.
to correct those issues in the syllabus, to
Ah.
correct the defects in our course books,
Mm.
to readjust them in the lessons you teach.
Yes.
And that is what I love.
Yes.
I just want to learn everything I can and use every opportunity to learn so that I can use all this knowledge to correct the
Yeah.
defects in the
Yes.
syllabus, in the course book, and in everything concerning my country. That's what I
Mm.
love. Thank you.
Mm. Mm. Wonderful. You got that all right, right before you froze. Thank you. Wow. Well said. Well said. And it seems so profound, um, but it's yet so simple. It's really so simple. And what I took from my master's degree program, which focused on English language acquisition, was they said, listen, you don't learn English, you acquire it. Put people in a situation that will give them reason to speak, and they will speak. As you speak or they're immersed, just because they're not responding right away doesn't mean they're not learning. I was just with my granddaughter just yesterday, and she was here, and she's about 1, and I asked her to go get the ball. So I pointed and said, "Go get me the ball." And she looked at me, she looked at the ball, she saw my gesture, she heard the word ball, she heard go get me, and then she may not have understood anything else, but she understood go get it and bring it to me. So she is not able to speak, and she probably, one word at a time, all she was able to say, ball. That's all she says. But we need to understand that our learners, the more they hear English, if you play a tape or put a movie on or have English around them, they're getting it. The brain, just because the scientists haven't been able to break down yet how it happens, it's happening. And it takes 3 years for that to fully develop. But it's the same everywhere. Whether you're starting acquiring a language at 12 or you start acquiring it at 0 or 60, the process is the same. 3 years it takes for your brain to just hear it, and then you start using it. So the more exposure we give our students to language speaking and listening, and we can facilitate that by having them work in groups on projects where they're English only. Where we're working on this project, you're only allowed to use English while you're working with your partners. and you have them engage. And, you know, in our classrooms, the other colonial construct was keep the classroom quiet. My classroom was never quiet. My students always worked in groups. They were always on a project and they're talking. And I want to hear talking and constructive talking on something that they're solving or resolving. They're working as a team to do that. And that mirrors life, wherein you have to be more collaborative. You have to work with someone else, or you get married, or your family, or your work. You're engaging with people. So the closer our classroom resembles real life situations, the more success we build in our students, because the skill will transfer. So we're developing I'm not sure if I'm using the term right, but I think a part of what they call quantum physics, there's another term to it where when one thing happens on this side, the other thing that happens on the other side as well. In learning or acquisition, more so, our environment is the teacher. The ether is the teacher. We just need to be immersed in it and be around it. For example, a child that grows up around a father who is a farmer, they're going to acquire the knowledge of farming naturally, without the father even, pointing out things specifically. They hear and they're observing. What we don't do enough I think, in education is give students opportunity for reflection, where they think about something, process it, ponder it, and then tell us back what they got from it. We ask them for immediate responses, very little wait time. And processing is a part of language acquisition. Aita?
Karen, I agree with Grace that we are global, and there is no negotiating. There is no way we can get back to being local and staying there. But at the same time, I also want to articulate the body of knowledge, she says, is lost. Why is that body of knowledge lost? She said it because of little or inadequate transfer. And here we are talking about the generational gaps. And if we looked at the things that have happened in this process that cause this oral body of knowledge, to be lost, then that should constitute our platform for reconstructing. Yes. Why? Because you see, in the traditional, children grew up by their parents, like you said, exposure to the things they were doing, lenders, easy acquisition. They could see the way they farm, the way they talk, and our myths and folklores and all of that were transmitted around the fireside.
Yes.
Now, we've got children today who this is not just a lost scenario of learning, but it becomes a scenario of learning, because we want to go for them. And you find every elder who dies is a library lost. It's a culture buried. It is tradition gone. And then we can sit now and say, yes, many of those bodies of knowledge are gone, and we've got no tap or hold on them because the people went without handing over to the younger generation. How many of our own children want to sit and listen to those stories that constituted our belief systems, how many want to see the process of preparing food where it was not just about the condiments that went into it, but the spirit in which it was prepared itself?
Yes.
That constituted our healing process.
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
And, when we are now talking about a reconstruct of knowledge, we are advocating for back to the roots. We are advocating for forward
Yes.
backward movement. We
Yes.
are not saying we take the learners. Yes, global is good. But where are we in the global?
Yeah.
We are at the peripheries, where they tell us, the same global masters tell us to belong, to have an identity. To get to the nucleus of globalization, come with your identity. It's like traveling through an agency, aircraft. Then they tell you, where's your passport? You don't have the passport, you don't travel.
Yeah.
And what is a passport? A language autonomy, a diet autonomy, culture, religion. But what has happened? In this process, we have lost all of this. Because we were, the brain drain caused us to think that these were things that were not valued. We want to teach our children before we are gone, and the little that we still hold on to goes, and they will never have a hold of it anymore. Now, I still speak my dialect. I still know a bit of my myths and folk tales or law or whatever. How much do my children know? I am that last string of the bridge that if it is broken without that transmission, then we have only ourselves to blame.
Yes.
We are saying what they are preaching is good. What they are giving us is good. But what is ours also? They've taken all of what is good and not acknowledging it, but owning it. What do we own at the end of the day?
Sure.
Not even a name.
Yes.
Not even a name.
Yeah.
Why am I Aita? Is it being Aita, Bridget, Valentine that makes me a citizen of the global? The Indians have come with their names. The Chinese have come with their names. And they're beating us all at it. We need to rethink a lot of things.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
We are in the global, but we are not part of the global. Or we are part of the global and we are the peripheries of the global.
Yes. And much of it, as you claimed, is because language has created access or not.
Yeah.
And so, how do we move forward from here then? One of the reasons that I designed the framework was because I'm watching just the schools in Jamaica fall apart. The teachers, it's as though teachers have more or less given up. The school system cannot sustain itself any longer. Number one, it doesn't have the technology, and the economy is dependent on tourism. And tourism, the pay for tourism is the average pay is 100 US per week. And so this is the sort of this is the push. And if you can't get off the island, that's what you do. If you are able to do something more than, and nobody wants their child to be in tourism, and they're able to get a degree or an opportunity, they leave. So now you have youth who are discouraged, they're hopeless, and seeking outside of themselves and their countries opportunities rather than the
Yeah.
opportunities being right where they are, because they're not able to be well, for lack of a better word, monetized, because everything has now become a commodity. Whereas in the
I call
past,
it the word you're looking for. In my context, I say making our own space the greener pasture
mhm,
the learners are looking for out there.
yes, yes, absolutely. Ah, and so I designed this. The concept is, for example, Trenchtown, a part of Jamaica. That's where reggae music began. Bob Marley, you mentioned that
Mhm.
in that little space, it's called the Culture Yard, is where Bob Marley practiced and all these things happened. And it's a little museum, and they've made it into a museum, but it's not developing. The surrounding communities the government has ignored. So, this very valuable space, the birthplace of reggae music, is not seen as the value of it. It doesn't, you can't tell based on the surroundings that it is a diamond, because it looks like a coal. And that's how much
Oh,
of the value in our communities look in it. But within that space, I learned so much. I had guidance from Stoneman, one of the residents. He's been there for 30 years. And just being in that space after the hurricane hit the house and all that, I left. I had to leave. And so I was in the community during after the hurricane while power was being restored, and that just being immersed in that community, I learned about the community. And this once again
yeah.
speaks to immersion. Being in a space
Mhm.
is different than learning about a space. I can tell you about Trenchtown, but if you visit Trenchtown, you will have a different experience.
Mhm.
I, the other analogy I can make with in terms of teaching and learning is my children know how to drive a stick shift, a standard car. You know, you have to stick and drive and all that. It's a lot in Cameroon, but not many standards in the US. It's mostly automatic now. When you're teaching someone how to drive a stick shift, where you have to hit the gears and go in gear, there is
Mhm.
no other way to teach them than to just let them do it. They watch you,
Yes.
they get in there, and they just do it. They just shake until they feel when it's time to shift. That's something that
Mhm.
they have to learn by doing. If
Mhm.
the colonialist way would say, I can articulate how every move goes when you're driving a
Mhm.
standard. And they can, if you put them in it to drive, they would not be able to drive it, but they can tell you.
Mhm.
And that's the difference. Their
You're
colonialist system is able to break down the how driving standard works, and then they take that information and then they create a book about it, and then they sell it to you and say, this is how you drive a stick shift. And if you ask them to go sit in a seat and drive, they'll
they
never be.
can't do it. Mm-mm. Mm-mm.
And so we don't see the value that we have. We don't document it the way they do. We don't.
We don't. We
And
go down the mines, we get the go down the mines. We don't know how it is used. We climb the trees, we get the cocos, we
yeah,
don't get the chocolates, we tap the rubber, we don't have the control over the price and the
right,
that
right,
does it.
right, right.
See, I don't know. I think with this talking, brainstorming, then we settle on what next.
Right. And what next to me, I've sort of started on that path. I presented this concept, the roots and rivers, for consideration at the Sunshine State TESOL conference, and it was accepted for a poster. So I'll be presenting it And not only in that format, but I will be modeling the multiple mediums through which I will be demonstrating this concept. Wherein I'll have the poster, but then I'll give teachers an opportunity to enter a VR space to learn that way, and to use the school's environment as well, where teachers can engage and experience what an immersive learning space is. I'm using Jamaica as a classroom because there's so much history there. I'm using service learning as a teaching medium. So I have a project that I am giving the opportunity for historically Black students, teachers, English language teachers to participate in with their students, where in Jamaica, they had the you know what, a service learning, let me just define what service learning is. Service learning, if just for people who maybe are unaware, but service learning is a project-based learning modality that has real world impact. It's not a simulation. It is a real project that has real community impact and results. We can, I'm modeling it in Jamaica, but a service learning project can be done in any person's space. So the project that I have assigned in Jamaica is, as a result of the hurricane, there's still been displaced and roofs are missing and all, and women and children are still unable to be housed properly. And so much of this is because most of the ministries that provide these services are in Kingston or in a city, and the people that need it are in the surrounding areas and they can't get to it. So I'm planning community resource fairs where we find a space in a community where all the government agencies and all the resources come into, and then the people can reach in there and they can come and let them know what sort of help is needed. So students have to coordinate that activity. They're going to have to engage with each other, ask questions, research. It's going to require collaboration for it to happen. And at various periods within this space, the teams will be able to actually visit Jamaica to be able to facilitate this process, this service learning activity, which will give an opportunity for students to have student exchange. I'm working within the historically Black universities right now, and I'm going to be reaching into the Caribbean colleges and then the African universities, so that it can be a university student sort of focus. So we start to garner the energy of scholars that are young. They have the energy and they can do amazing things when they work together. It will demonstrate, it will give the opportunity to, and this is something that I started working on when I was in Cameroon. I started some work with the students at PK Folcom, where I was going to connect them with students at historically Black universities where they could collaborate through a platform, such as we're doing here. And then the students from Cameroon could visit the US and they'd be in an immersive setting. We want to create opportunities for students to travel into English spaces and create opportunities for it to be funded, because most of the barrier is money and visas. And once barriers, we should be able to move about freely. This is another issue with the colonial construct that has created barriers between regions, so we are unable to move freely and engage with each other. But thankfully for technology, we can start this way, and then we'll be able to have these exchanges. I'd like to also formally, I know you're just coming out of your conference, but consider hosting a conference. I don't believe there's a Caribbean English Language Teachers Association in this region. I'm going to research it. But I'd like for COMELTA to really I think you all have set the stage in this sort of research in terms of teachers using action research within their classroom, relying on their own. That has been something that is in a part of CAMELTA. And I think teachers in Jamaica and teachers across the world need to really hear this from CAMELTA. It can really be a part of the creating the new pedagogy as it relates to where education is going. And so no, we need to move from outside of into each other's spaces and into an immersive English environment, which Jamaica is. And I mentioned this to PK Folcom. Jamaica is an opportunity to be immersed and very well connected to the closely historically Black universities in the region. So all the visa issues that the president is putting in place, we, through academics and through culture, we can still engage using other methods for acquiring visas for students to be able to travel and musicians and under this visa status. So through education, we'll be able to do that. So I'd like us to have these sort of reasonings in terms of what we can do as a collaboration in preparation for next year. And just like the Teach Sol is being hosted in Florida, we can host something in Jamaica. And I think it would be very good because Haiti needs support in that region. I think Haiti might be one of the only French-speaking countries in the region, so they're very isolated. So the bridge that Cameroonian teachers can build between with the English and assisting with education development in Cameroon, in Haiti would also be helpful. Yes, because the bridge, Jamaica, we speak English, so it's hard, the communication when they have people coming over on the boats, there's no one that can translate for the Haitians that come on the island and they send them back. It's just really horrible. So after making it all the way on the boats with babies and everything, the Jamaican authorities send them back to Haiti on the boats and they can't communicate. So, Cameroon working closely with English language, and I would like to facilitate that collaboration as well. We can now invite other teachers into that space and students as well. And then the economics will develop around that, but we need to create opportunities for that exchange. The president of Ghana has opened some of those doors and will be continuing that sort of exchange between Jamaica and the Africa in terms of trading. English is going to become much more important for us to navigate. I think it's not going to be that difficult because we'll be speaking trade language. So if we're teaching trade language, that'll be a good space to engage. Okay. And then we can develop socially and culturally through music from that space. But once the economic piece is addressed, I think we need to start somewhere is what I'm saying. So this is a model. So exchange programs, we have a scuba diving program. Jamaica is full of rivers and waterways and those sorts of things. Environmental studies, that's very, very much available in the ecosystem here. And summer camps. So there are a number of different initiatives that I'd like CAMELTA to work on closely with CAMELTA and in Jamaica in terms of teacher development, student development, language development through immersion.
Okay.
Right? So we can do that there, but then also that same model can be duplicated in other regions. Every space has history. Every place has its own story that can be told. So
you're right.
What we'll be doing is just modeling it, and then people can obviously bring it back to within their communities and do that. So that's it. So every Sunday, I'm going to start having these little reasonings. I'll use a word. Plagiarism was the word, and the plagiarism. I use that word because I want us to relook at that word and the role we play as the knower. We can go back to the foundation, to the Bible, to scriptures, And
Mhm.
Cambridge. The reason this sort of came up was because of Professor Arday, Jason Arday.
Yeah, we died. Yeah, he's so rest in peace.
But his research is what I haven't really been listening to what other have been going on. It's his research that I was looking closely at. And his research spoke very much to this issue in terms of academia being the racism within the structures, and it's not designed for indigenous peoples and that sort of thing. That's what his research supported. And so in an attempt to adjust and adapt education to facilitate learning, we're moving in this direction. So we're going to keep having these reasonings, and I want that paper that I wrote to be peer reviewed. So I want to give opportunity for people to share what they're thinking, what they thought about the readings. I was able to extract significant history, Jamaican history, Rastafari history from that.
Okay.
Very,
I
very.
started reading.
Pardon me?
I started reading.
Oh, did you? Yes. It's just so much information, and when you see it from the bird's eye view, I can see the story behind Rastafari and how it's unfolded and where we are right now. So thank you I know you've had a long week.
Yeah.
What they call in Rastafari, they don't say week, they say strong. They said next strong.
Wow.
It's a strong end. We don't have a weekend, they have a strong end. They don't say, so you've had a long strong.
Wow.
Yeah.
I got a lot of learning I'll be doing here now. Oh.
So yeah, so when you hear me talk, sometimes I make sure you know I'm speaking.
Sounds like yesterday, Karen.
I know. It's so good to see you. So since I'm trying to set something up so that you can come here, and I saw the announcement for the conference, and I thought about it, and I was like, it's too late for me to head over there. Maybe we'll see. I'd love to be
next year we'll get you come here.
I'd love to be able to come and do another presentation. Yeah, man, we have to do something again. We don't need the embassy to do it. We can do it.
No, we don't. Thank you so much. It's been very good reconnecting.
Same here.
Let's keep this alive.
Every Sunday around this time, I want to have a little reasoning. We have a little time, and I'll bring other teachers on as well. I'm dropping it in the West Africa group, and I have other teachers that are, from the conference. I'll be pushing it out there so we can start to connect with others.
All right.
Grace, is there anything you'd like to say before we wrap up? Thank you for jumping on.
Thank you. Sorry, I had to hook up in another meeting.
Okay. No worries.
So I'm between two meetings right now.
That's right. All right, then. So I'll let you go. I thought we will be in touch. Thank you so much again for coming here.
We'll
so much. These ideas. So
we will continue with the reflection. My regards to family.
Yes, thank you. Ma Presi, thank you. Good night.
Yes.
Good night, parents.